Good evening, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder. And if this is your first time coming in, welcome. And if it isn't, welcome back.
Indeed. And if since if you don't know what we do here, we critique stuff from our corners. And this week we've got a nice little slate of reviews. Most of them are from DB because I was lazy and couldn't.
Yeah, we had that week off. I ended up consuming a variety of things over the course of it.
Yeah. But as far as our normal reviews, we usually just review movies. This week we've got a couple of mid '90s classics. But starting us off, DB has a sort of a returning review for us, the audiobook version of Project Hail Mary.
Yes, indeed. So for those of you who didn't watch our movie review of it, the basic premise of this story, and I'm going to, because we've already done a movie review, I won't go into the plot as much, except for where it differs from the movie. A bunch of microorganisms called astrophage that are capable of absorbing light and multiplying end up becoming so prevalent in our solar system that they can start to dim the output of the sun, which will doom the Earth to an ice age. And so an intrepid crew of astronauts is sent out to a neighboring planet, the Tau Ceti, or neighboring star system, I should say, Tau Ceti. And in the course of it, only the science officer, Grace, makes it through. And he encounters an alien researching the same phenomenon, and the two of them team up to try to figure out how to stop the astrophage from destroying both of their planets.
Yeah.
So, because the audiobook is 14 hours long, and the movie is about pushing 3 hours, pushing 3 hours.
Yeah.
Of course, you're going to have some things cut. And I think that my overall takeaway is that the biggest change from the book to the movie is, okay, Lord and Miller have a particular style. They like to be silly. They've liked to be silly since Clone High. They've liked to be silly since the Lego movie. They got too silly and got fired off of Solo. They like to be silly in the Spider-Verse movies. They have a very silly sensibility.
Yeah.
On top of that, because of the nature of the medium, in a book you can have a long diversion about how Grace and Rocky team up and figure out particular engineering problems. You can go more into how things are accomplished. You can have some more time for success and failure.
Yeah.
So a number of things that just seemed to fall into their lap in the movie, you have a lot more time to go into it. I would also say that Grace comes across as being much more important in the book than in the movie, because here's how I'll put it. I mean, you can disagree with me and tell me if I'm off base, but in the movie, it often seemed like he was just chosen by, let's see, what was her name again? Strat, the older woman. It seemed like he was just kind of picked out of nowhere by Strat.
Yeah.
And like he was just being dragged along the whole time.
Yeah, I definitely got that sense. Yeah. Well, she picked it, if I remember right, she picked him because he had a very unorthodox views on what is needed to create life, I think.
Right. And so she chose him as like a person to research this alien sample that they got.
Yeah, and then but yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, like every single time like they were doing something with this, she's just like, okay, well, come along, okay, you're sitting in on this meeting, okay, we're doing this now, and now you're doing this, okay, well, we lost our whole science officer team, so you're going into space now.
Yep.
At
Well,
gunpoint.
so all that still happens, but because there's more time in between each scene,
uh,
um, eh, he comes across. Actually, you know what? It kind of almost reminded me of. It's like in the Lego Movie where he was just the special, and so
yeah,
he was kind of dragged along with it,
yeah,
and he just had this inner ability that came out. It's not quite the same thing, but it's kind of a similar sensibility to it. Um,
mm,
in the book, it's like he gets brought in because he's an expert and can do this testing to try to investigate the astrophage, and then it's like he keeps coming up with ideas where that I believe were ascribed to other people in the movie just to like make things go faster
yeah,
because you didn't have 15 minutes for each flashback.
right, yeah,
Um, and I would say a lot of things that we mildly questioned in the movie, uh, most of them have like a really satisfying explanation in the book.
okay,
So like I'll just give a less spoilery example of a thing that seemed very convenient. In the movie, they made it sound like a meteorite that had some astrophage on it happened to crash down on Earth, is how I remember it. Like
uh,
they kind of brush over how they got the initial sample of astrophage.
yeah,
In the book, they had time to say, "Oh yeah, there was a Japanese satellite or a Japanese orbiter that we sent out with a special collecting thing to go circle around Venus, then come back."
uh,
But they didn't, want to spend the dialogue doing it.
yeah,
So what I'll say is that he comes across as more competent in the book.
okay,
And somebody that my dad knew who was a student of his who had seen the movie came away like being very upset and thought it was just awful compared to the book. And if the book had been my initial comparison point, I could see like thinking that Grace as portrayed in the movie was a bit of a goofball,
yeah,
bit of a bumbler, which he didn't really come across. Also, if memory serves, like in the initial scene where Rocky's robots tossed him the thing, like the first message,
yeah, it just
they
bounces
they,
off the ship, yeah,
do not believe that that happened. I believe that he was able to get out there in time because it was moving at a because they weren't quite so close and it was moving at a slow enough speed that he could get out and catch it.
uh,
So like they definitely like punched it up a little bit in terms of gags.
yeah,
Like even if I'm mistaken about that example, the thing about 14-hour audiobook is that certain details will elude you just
yeah,
because it's hard to maintain 14 hours of concentrated focus like that.
yeah, yeah,
I did end up rewinding a few times when I realized I'd been doing something else and drifted away.
yeah. Yeah, I've had a tendency to do that too when I've listened to audiobooks.
Yeah. Um, but like they left out some cool scenes that would have been fun in the movie, but I understand why they left them out. So,
Uh,
for example, in the book, they realized that th- their um, their estimates for climate change from the sun dimming, like how long they had until an ice age,
yeah,
um, there wouldn't be enough time to get to Tau Ceti and back.
uh,
Uh, so they nuke Antarctica to release a bunch of trapped methane gas in the ice.
no, wow, okay,
So like they're just full of all these little details that wouldn't have made it into the movie.
yeah, wow,
So I would say that the other thing is that I hadn't read an Andy Weir book before. Um, if I had to just say like, and this actually came out in his interview that he did with the Critical Drinker, is that he doesn't really like he has a hard time picturing people to describe them, so he always leaves descriptions out.
uh,
He also, and this is going to sound mean, He writes like he has spent too much time in a Reddit chat room. Just like some of his analogies, that the language can be kind of simple, which makes it accessible, but like it's not earth-shattering prose. It
Yeah.
is very much just like the inner monologue of a geek.
Amaze, amaze, amaze.
Oh yeah. Also, Rocky comes off about the same.
Okay.
Maybe slightly goofier because Lord and Miller,
Yeah.
but but Rocky also comes off across as a bit more competent. Like just again, anything that's just seemed convenient in the movie, by and large, has an explanation in the book.
Okay.
The only thing I would say that I don't still have an adequate explanation of is that the aliens don't know what radiation is. Now they had a better explanation of why they didn't know what radiation is, because their planet had such a thick atmosphere that sunlight barely penetrated, so they didn't have eyes, so they didn't like have a need to know what radiation was.
Uh,
And all of their space travel to that point had been orbital, where they were still inside of their planet's ultra strong magnetic field. So again, no exposure to cosmic rays or anything.
yeah. Hmm.
But I still don't quite know how they like. He mentions like that how amazed he was that they sorted out space travel and space and everything without having eyes or knowing what radiation is. And it's like, if you don't have eyes, what are you scanning the skies with?
Yeah.
You can't exactly like send a sonar pulse out into space, no matter what Star Trek Discovery would tell you.
Yeah. Man. Mm.
Anyway, I would say that both are fine experiences. I might almost recommend that. I think that the order I did it in, where I watched the movie first, then listened to the audiobook, um, was probably the right one, because then I was finding out new details instead of going, they cut out X. X was my favorite scene.
Yeah. Which is kind of the bane of a lot of movies that are adapted from books. Is they have to make a lot of creative choices as to what they include and what they get rid of, and then sometimes they will get rid of something that a lot of people or readers will be like, oh, that was my favorite part, and like, oh, I like that scene when so and so said that, and then they cut that
Right.
out.
I would say that probably the most famous example in recent memory, or even not so recent memory, is Tom Bombadil
Hmm.
from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah. Yeah, what was that? That was
He was a character who just was kind of like, a lot of people said he's kind of a tumor on the story, but it's like he's like an initial character who they run into very early on, who just had no presence whatsoever in the movie because there really wasn't a good spot to throw him in.
oh yeah.
It's like he has like a long part of he has like a long chunk of the first part of the first book, but he doesn't really add anything technically. He's just like an adventure that they have, which for a fantasy story, having a random side adventure is a-okay, but it would like you would have added like 15, 20 minutes to the movie to do him properly, and would you have actually gained anything from it?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, adding 15-20 minutes onto a movie that's already 3 hours. Like,
Yeah, a bit much of an ask,
yeah,
especially for a character who doesn't appear again.
yeah,
Also, from an audiobook production angle, very nicely done. It was narrated by Ray Porter, who uh, does a good job of reading it, emoting it, doing different voices. They also do something neat where while Grace is learning to understand Rocky's language, they kind of like noodle around on the synthesizer whenever he's speaking.
uh,
So it's very neat.
yeah. Oh, cool.
It's a good production.
Yeah.
Now, to change over to something extremely different, and this is a solo thing that Daniel will have no context for.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
A buddy and I have watched the first 4 episodes of Kaiju Girl Caramelise.
Oh,
And it was just a show that we saw on Crunchyroll, and we said, let's give it a shot. And what's really hilarious to me about this
wow.
is that It is basically the anime version of Turning Red, but done competently.
Uh,
So, plotline. Kuroe Akashi, excuse me, Kuroe Akaishi is basically the least popular girl at school. She stays away from everybody and is generally ostracized, but that's because she has a secret. Whenever she gets too emotionally flustered, she starts like growing monster parts. Like in the first episode, she ends up with her hand turning into like a Godzilla claw, like they show there.
uh,
And and but she's basically accepted that she's just going to be alone. It's kind of funny how she has like her de-stress ritual of like things that she listens to, like heavy metal, when she gets too stressed out, and like it helps her calm down because she's a strange child.
yeah.
um but she was just used to being a wallflower until one day Arata Minami, the most popular guy in her class, starts noticing her and paying attention to her. And so she's having to try to control her feelings. But this isn't much of a spoiler, because if you look around, you see a bunch of pictures of this, including on the manga cover. She turns into a monster that is like Godzilla, but girlified. Like, how she has this heart here on her spine. That's there on the Godzilla-sized version. And so she's trying to keep her secret while getting closer to this guy and deciding if she wants to get closer to this guy. And we slowly learn more pieces about her, about what's going on with her. Like, why does she turn into a kaiju? Now, I have only seen the first 4 episodes of the anime version of this. I don't believe that the whole season is out yet at this point. So I can only give kind of an initial impressions. So things I like about this, especially compared to the 5 minutes I tried to watch of Turning Red before I cringed out of my skull and turned it off. Because it is a very similar concept, because it's basically Asian girl turns into a creature when she gets flustered, dealing with cute guys. Obvious metaphor for puberty. For one thing, Kuroe's mom is hilarious. Like, she is a classic kind of Gyaru character. It is kind of funny how she's this glamorous blonde-looking lady, and her daughter is this kind of milquetoast nothing girl with black hair. It was to the point where I initially thought that, or it would not surprise me if it turned out that she was adopted somehow. She herself is kind of a typical gloomy manga girl, but she is, like, you understand her deal, and she's likable in her own way. And you also get to have some nice fun with like, this is what you're seeing here is like her partway transformed version. Whereas, and I'll just go ahead and open this up real quick. Like, this here in the background is what she looks like when she fully transforms. It's like literally, and I love the way that they animate it, where it is kind of like she looks like a guy in a costume Godzilla from an old movie. The show is also full of these are not subtle references at all. There's a girl in her class who is obsessed with the giant monster after he appears on the news, and she keeps dressing up in things that make her look like Mothra. Like, that's her. Like, she sleeps in a sleeping bag that looks like a big caterpillar, and then she has a butterfly outfit that she wears when she's trying to get the attention of the monster. And this crazy girl's bodyguards are bald, where sunglasses, and have a thin mohawk on their head, which is meant to evoke Ultraman or Ultra 7.
Yeah.
Um, and this is like the most subtle reference so far. There are these three bully characters at school who are always putting her down and trying to like make her stay away from the popular guy, even as he's clearly into her.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, there are three of them. Is that supposed to be like, well, like, not Gauss? That's from. Oh, what's the name of the three-headed monster? That's from
Mothra. No, not Mothra.
no.
Oh no. Oh,
A Ghidra. That's it.
Ghidra. Thank you.
Yeah, so like she's like, I think they're supposed to evoke Ghidra, though that's like there's not like a monster form of them yet. But it's basically just like I said, it's just a cute coming of age romance story with a bit of a mystery. Like nothing groundbreaking, but it's on Crunchyroll right now, and I have definitely seen worse, and I don't feel like I'm wasting my time when I watch it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, like I did just keep thinking about. I've seen reviews of Turning Red. This thing is basically like the manga version of, or the Japanese version of Turning Red, and it's so much better because, and this is like what makes it interesting. The focus is not on intergenerational trauma and how her mom is wrong. The focus is on her coming to terms with this weird thing about her and uncovering the mystery of why it's happening.
Okay. Well, hopefully it holds up for the rest of the season.
Yep, hopefully. There's no adequate transition to our next thing, so Daniel, I've been talking long enough. Tell everyone about Four Weddings and a Funeral.
Yes, Four Weddings and a Funeral. One of the classic rom-coms of the 1990s, British rom-com, where it's basically just people going to four weddings and then a funeral. And there we go.
Not in that order.
Not in that order, no. This movie, one of the things I noticed is it is a good example of not letting too much plot get in the way of the story. So basic premise, you've got this group of friends in Britain. They're like late 20s, early 30s. And although most of the movie centers around Hugh Grant's character, Charles, and he is kind of a what's the word for it? He's a bit of a cad.
Cad is a very good word for what he is.
Yeah. But the whole the whole shtick is that the running gag is that every time there's a wedding, he always oversleeps, and so does his roommate, a young woman named Scarlett. They both oversleep, and so they end up having to like scramble to get dressed and then get out of their flat and go to the church for the wedding. And the first wedding, and of course, it's particularly bad with the first wedding because Charles is actually the best man,
and he has the ring.
And he has the ring, yeah. So he shows up to the church, and he's late, and then of course, the groom, his friend, is like, so well, just as long as you have the ring. It's like, of course, I got it right here. Oh,
oh no,
oh no. So he has to talk to his friends and say, hey, I need help. I don't have the rings. So they just pluck a bunch of gimmicky rings from the people in the church. But in the midst of this wedding, that's how we're introduced to all the different characters. We got Charles, we got Scarlett. We also have some of the other friends. You got a brother and sister, Fiona and Tom. I think that's a Tom. They're from a very wealthy family, and And Charles actually asked, "Are you like the family like the richest people in Britain?" No, seventh richest.
I mean, there's the Queen's ahead of us, and
Yeah,
oh,
that
and
guy.
that guy from Virgin is doing very nicely for
Yeah,
himself.
yeah, yeah. That Branson guy. Yeah, he's doing pretty good. Yeah. um, and so you get them, and then you have something that's very progressive for the 1990s. You actually have a gay couple in there. Um, their names are Gareth and Matthew. Matthew is played by John Hannah, who was in the Mummy movies. He played Rachel Weisz's ne'er do well brother.
Okay.
And I also real quick, Fiona is played by Kristen Scott Thomas, who was a very well known British actress, and the muse for the guys at Top Gear. Um, but and then of course, last but not least, is Charles's brother David, who is deaf. And but of course, while they're at the midst of this wedding, the first wedding, Charles meets Annie McDowell's character Carrie, and she's the one American in the cast. And he's just immediately smitten with her. Just thinks she's just just the bee's knees. And of course, and we see the first instances of Hugh Grant being charmingly befuddled.
Oh, Hugh Grant in What's My Appeal?
Yeah. I'm just so charmingly befuddled. But yeah, so they meet, and then they have a little one night stand, and then she goes back to America, and then we cut to the next wedding, and the next wedding is where things really kind of go off the rails for Charles, because of course, once again, they're running late, and Scarlett, the roommate, she's a bridesmaid, and then her dress splits open. But yeah, but basically, yeah, like each time they have one of these weddings, Hugh Grant ends up running into Carrie, and he's just like, oh, he really likes her, and he's like, oh, maybe I could really get something going with her. Of course, the second wedding, he's stuck at the table with all of his exes.
Yeah, and that's where you really realize just how much of a jerk he is. And I would say that, okay, so going into this, I had no idea what this movie actually was. It has one of those titles that is just super evocative,
Yeah.
but I had just never looked into this movie. I just never heard about it for whatever reason. So I didn't know if it was, had no idea it was a romantic comedy. I could have taken it. I kind of started figuring it out pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'll say, but like for the opening scene, like, okay, this is clearly has a comedic bent, but for all I knew, it was like a crime movie because, oh, you have the funeral. What's the funeral?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So as I wrapped my head around what this movie was, which by the way, it is not a bad experience to just go into a movie with absolutely no concept whatsoever because it gives you the opportunity to surprise you much more.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was aware of it. I kind of like knew. I mean, I knew the movie revolved around people going to four weddings and a funeral, and I knew it was a rom-com with Hugh Grant, but that was it. I didn't know anything else about it.
Yeah. So I think this is a good example of how to make a compelling enough movie where you don't necessarily care about you don't necessarily care about the outcome, because in my opinion, Hugh is a monster, and I don't think his wedding to Andy McDowell is going to last for very long.
No, no. Yeah, if they ever did a legacy sequel, it'd be like, yeah, like, oh, they're divorced, and not speaking to each other. Yeah.
There's our destructive deconstruction to sequel series that we need. 5 weddings and a funeral. Hugh Grant can die in the first scene after alone and bitter, and his daughter can go find a girlfriend, learning from her dad's awful example.
Right. Yes. Oh.
I have pitched this. I think that I could convince somebody to make this. I don't want this to be made.
You're right. Yeah. But yeah, but yeah, I would say it has some very like funny, memorable moments in there. Obviously the probably the funniest scene is when with Rowan Atkinson, where
Yes.
he's officiating the wedding and he keeps flubbing, like he forgets their names and he keeps flubbing the prayers, and
Yep. Like I would say that it is the most it is the worst wedding officiation I've ever seen outside of no, this surpasses The Princess Bride, because the other guy just had like a speech impediment.
right, yeah,
Marriage.
marriage.
Um, but yeah, like, the actual ride is very fun because it's it's got a lot of clever dialogue. It's very punchy. It's very funny in an understated way.
Yeah,
Like a lot of the best lines would be hard to describe because they're situational.
yeah, which is very British. It's just how they do it over there.
Like one of my favorite scenes. This one you can't kind of give context on, and it's funny on its own. So I think this was at wedding 2. Scarlett, the roommate, is under the table with a little girl, and she has this conversation about how, I want to bonk all the men who won't have me, and the men who will have me, I'm uninterested in, so I bonk them and then leave.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with myself. And the little girl says, "Oh, I'm sorry. By the way, what's bonking?"
Yeah. Like,
The other funny thing is that Andy McDowell's character is describing her body count.
oh God, yeah.
And I think it was like what, in the 20s, high 20s at least.
High 20s, yeah, almost 30, yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, huh, when she shows up engaged with somebody else, like outside of this being a romantic comedy, I can kind of predict that she isn't going to want to stay with the guy who's like twice her age.
Yeah.
Like okay, so I think I would give this a tacit recommendation. Like if you like romantic comedies and haven't seen this thing, this will appeal to you probably.
Yeah.
I want to go into some spoilers about the ending here.
Okay, yeah.
Hugh Grant's character basically does the one thing that you can do to a story, like especially like something lighthearted like a comedy,
Yeah.
that will just immediately make me tune out and hate a character.
Yeah.
It happened. Like I used to love Scrubs,
Oh, yeah.
and then in the second to last season,
Yeah.
they had a storyline where the main character knocked up his girlfriend, and they go in for a wedding, and then his on again, off again girlfriend, who they were off again with, decides she also settles for a guy, and they decide that neither of them want to get married, so they bonk so that they can both get out of their weddings, even though this woman he's about to marry is carrying his child.
Yeah. Yeah. That irritated me when they did that.
Like I was done with the show at that point.
Yeah.
So when Hugh Grant does the same thing to this poor woman who I don't think she was his ex. I think that she was just like always on the out. No, she was briefly his ex. That's right. Or briefly
yeah.
dated.
Yeah.
And then and then off camera, it's like he settles for her to avoid being alone.
Right. Yeah. And then Andy McDowell shows up at the church right before the wedding, and she tells him that no, that she got divorced, and and he's like, oh no, and he's in the back of the church wrestling with his feelings, and
Yep.
and then he effectively leaves the woman at the altar. Yeah, she slugs him right in the face, which he Assuredly deserved.
Right, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
Dude is scum,
Yeah.
and I hope they make 5 weddings and a funeral now. Even though I said earlier that I hope they didn't, because like I just cannot get into this relationship. Now that final scene with them in the rain, I had seen it parodied many times before.
Yeah.
It's like immediately I realized what they were doing,
Yeah.
but like I just do not feel that relationship, which is kind of a problem for a romantic comedy.
Yeah. I and the other thing too, I just never really understood why the two of them were so into each other. It had to have been entirely superficial.
Right.
Like because they never spend more than like have like fleeting moments with each other.
I think the closest we get to it is that he's very much a jokester and loves turns of phrase and everything. Like
Yeah.
he's has a very dry, sardonic sense of humor. And after their first night together, she says, "Well, what will we tell everyone back home about what? About our wedding?" And then she like pretends that she's an innocent flower who will, of course, marry any man that she's been with.
Yeah.
Like that shows their compatibility, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, is is it weird to say that this is like no? There's plenty of character in here. So
Yeah.
it's not like all plot no story. There's like lots of story here. It's just that they don't develop the central story. Andy is actually like one of the least fleshed out characters. Now that I think about it,
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
clearly this movie works for a lot of people because it made like $200 million back in, or excuse me, 200 million pounds sterling back in the '90s on
Yeah.
a £3 million budget.
Yeah, no, I remember when this movie came out and everybody was talking about it, and I think my parents even rented it when it came out on video. So, I mean, yeah, it was all the rage back then. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, like it just it's weird to see something where it's like, okay, I see why this could appeal to people. I am not one of those people.
Yeah, I mean, I there were a few moments in there that I thought were really funny. I thought,
Uh,
that
I'll,
some of the I will say some of the secondary characters were I thought interesting. And I kind of wish they focused more on them.
I'm gonna. Yeah, I was about to just realize my mistake there. I was about to correct myself. Like, I
Yeah.
don't like the core characters that much,
Yeah.
especially when you find out like the way that Hugh Grant's character treated his exes. Like, just
Yeah. Yeah.
like I really don't think that he has learned the error of his ways
Mhm. Yeah.
remotely.
Yeah, much like Dustin Hoffman and Tootsie.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like it just kind of rewards him for his behavior
Yeah.
because his problem was that he was like too charming and would get with these women and get cold feet. Well, what does he do if not try to get with a woman and then get cold feet? Just like if they didn't show him with him and Andy McDowell there with a child in the ending, it would have been much easier to just go. And then they dated for a week and broke up.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no real reason for me. I have no reason to think that he actually changed his ways at all.
No, no. Ugh. Oof.
Ah, well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like everything around the main characters is actually a lot of fun. Just I don't care for the main characters or their struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but this movie is currently on Netflix. In case any of you are interested in watching it.
Yep. I would say it's one of those movies where it's not bad to give it a watch just for the like cultural context.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, something you can probably skip if what you care about is being able to talk to people at the water cooler about it, but I enjoyed it. Made to Skate. It's a very simple manga. It started off as a series of illustrations by a guy who goes by the handle of Suzushiro online, who loves two things, or actually three things: drawing, maids, and skateboards. So I guess he got popular online drawing pictures of maids skating around, and so he turned it into a story.
Yeah, why not?
And the synopsis from Wikipedia is like there are some things that you need like a detailed breakdown on, like the kaiju girl one. Like you need some sort of context, like what the hell is this? Meanwhile, synopsis: the series is set in a world where the most skilled maids are also skilled at riding a skateboard. Like it is seen as part of being a maid. Well, of course, maids are skaters. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, where have you been?
They live in this what I can only describe as like the Japanese vision of like a faux European town with like, and the actual tech level is a little bit hard to gauge. Like it's that vague pre, like I don't think I've seen a television, or I don't think I've even seen it. I think maybe a telephone. It's like that pre computer, pre network era.
Okay.
And the main character is named Benihana, which, of course, being an American, I think of the restaurant right away.
Yeah.
And she is a very typical anime protagonist type, by which I mean that she's kind of goofy, but very skilled at skating. And the plot is very light. It is just basically her interacting with the other maids who all like, there's the maid who's very serious and doesn't like that her junior is always doing weird things. And there's the one who would probably do an Ojo laugh at some point. The oh, ha, ha, ha. Though she hasn't done it yet, but she's like the spoiled princess who doesn't like, or princess type who doesn't care for Benihana's nonsense. And then there's the tall, big sisterly one who is just kind of generically pleasant and is in the background.
Yeah.
But it has secretly has a super high tolerance for spice that nobody expected when she cooked for them. And then like every manga chapter is like clearly, and okay, I'm not a skating aficionado, so maybe this guy just made it all up, but it all seems too detailed for it not to be his own like obsession with skating coming in with like all the details. But you have to, Benihana just wanted to pick a new skateboard because it looked cute, but that's wrong for her. So they go through the process of figuring out like, well, if you do this style, you want this balance, you want this size of the wheels and this gauge and this,
yeah,
and this and this and this. And so you could actually learn quite a bit about skating just from what's in some of the chapters. And like at the end of every chapter, they have a breakdown of details about skateboarding. So I pre-ordered this just because I saw the art on Twitter and I said, this sounds just bizarre enough to work. And well, what do you know? It was just bizarre enough to work.
Yeah.
Like it's not, I wouldn't call it one of the all-time greats or anything, but in terms of just like it is executing on the premise, and the art itself is worth looking at because he manages to work so much energy and motion into all these pictures that you can feel it. Like if the guy wanted to, I don't know why he would take the pay cut. Like he would do great drawing something like Spider-Man or like action scenes for a comic book. Similar sort of talent.
Take the pay cut. Well, I guess it would be a pay cut.
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of heard what what American comic book people are making. There's a reason that they keep outsourcing a lot of the art down to South America.
Yeah.
Or you get people who look like they rolled out of Tumblr yesterday.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I read it. I decided to just give it a quick review because, like, you will know whether this concept appeals to you or not just looking at that image. Does that image intrigue you in the least? If not, give it a skip. It's not going to convince you. If you look at that and go, well, that's interesting, at least give it a go.
Yeah. All right.
It is currently available at your finer book retailers. Now,
cool. Yeah.
Rounding out our day with another space adventure, or perhaps space misadventure, we have the 1990s classic Apollo 13.
Yes, based on the true story of the Apollo 13 mission, which went horribly wrong, and the the astronauts and the folks at Mission Control had to solve several problems in order to get them back. Of course, this was the third mission to land on the moon after Apollo 11, which was Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and then Michael Collins, and then Apollo 12. Um, and but this movie, the movie, of course, is starts off with the Apollo 11 landing, where, of course, for those of you who don't know, Jim Lovell, who was the mission commander on Apollo 13, was Neil Armstrong's backup on Apollo 11. And before that, he was on Apollo 8. He was the command module pilot for that. And that was when they actually got to the moon and went around it. And then he was on 2 Gemini missions. And I actually got to, just a real quick side note, I actually got to go to a reunion for the Apollo 8 astronauts back in like the late 2000s, early 2010s. It was at the Lyndon Johnson Library at the University of Texas. And that was a pretty illuminating, discussion there. And actually, one of the things that it comes up in the movie where Fred Hayes, who's one of the Apollo 13 astronauts, he gets sick, and then Lovell mentions to Hayes that Borman was throwing up. Frank Borman, who was the mission commander on Apollo 8, he was throwing up the entire time, and they talked about that at the reunion. And Lovell was still complaining about that. He's just like, you threw it up the whole time and stank up the whole ship.
Yeah, you can't exactly crack open a window, at least not more than once.
No. But yeah, so they're watching. So the movie starts off where they're having a big party at Lovell's house in Houston, watching the Apollo 11 landing, and of course Lovell's waiting for his chance to get on there. And then at first they were Fred Hayes, and then Ken Mattingly were supposed to be on Apollo 14, but then Alan Shepard, who was originally the mission commander of Apollo 13, got an ear infection. So Lovell, Hayes, and Mattingly got bumped up to Apollo 13. And there's a funny scene in there where when Lovell tells his wife the news, and she's like, "Oh, a 13," and Lovell says, "Yeah, it comes after 12."
Yeah, I guess her woman's intuition told her that something bad was going to happen.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But yeah. So basically, the movie is basically depicting the lead up to the mission, and then eventually going on the mission. And one of the first big setbacks that happen, or first big setback that happens, is one of the Apollo backup crew members ends up contracting the measles. And unfortunately, Ken Mattingly, who was the command module pilot, had never had the measles. So he didn't have an immunity, and they were worried that he was going to get sick as they were, going up to the moon. So they had to pull Mattingly, and they put in Jack Swigert. Just so real quick, like Tom Hanks plays Jim Lovell. The late Bill Paxton played Fred Hayes. You had Gary Sinise played Ken Mattingly, and then Kevin Bacon plays Jack Swigert. And one of the things I will say that this is one of my favorite movies of all time. Like I was a big space program guy, big NASA guy. So this movie was kind of my entry into learning more about the space program and the Apollo missions, and finding out more about the astronauts and the mission control guys. But I will say, like, but the big knock I have on this is how Jack Swigert is portrayed in the movie. Um, he's kind of portrayed as being this kind of like hotshot, real, wet behind the ears, and he's just kind of, he doesn't have much experience and all this other stuff. But in reality, he was actually a very competent pilot, and actually, there was I remember Jim Lovell actually did an interview where he mentioned that Swigert actually wrote like the malfunction procedures for like the command module. Like if there's a malfunction and they need to do like shutdowns, Swigert actually wrote that procedure. And both he and Fred Hayes said Swigert was actually who they really needed on that mission. Not nothing against Ken Mattingly, but I mean Swigert was at the right place at the right time.
Right, because he actually, he knew how to do this procedure.
Yeah.
We were talking before the show, and I said to Daniel, just because of how Kevin Bacon portrayed the character, it's like, I have seen this movie before. I saw this movie when I was in junior high, though it's been many years since I saw it.
Yeah.
And if I didn't know better, I would say that it would turn out that he was a Soviet agent who had intentionally sabotaged the ship or something, partly because it's Kevin Bacon, and he always comes off as kind of villainous to me.
Oh, yeah.
But also just like the way he was acting is like, this feels strange.
Yeah. Well, that would have made that would have made for a really good Cold War spy thriller story. But yeah, no, it's the other, of course, you have what ends up happening on Apollo 13 is they go to stir the oxygen tanks. There's a
Right,
short.
the oxygen tanks, and I hadn't quite realized this, were used for more than mere life support.
No, yeah, they were also used for the power. Yeah. Because so there's a spark in there was a spark, and then it caused in the tanks, and it caused the explosion. And as a result, not only were they losing oxygen, but they were also losing power.
Which is not a good combination when you're trying to get home.
No, it isn't. So what they had to do is they had to shut down the command module completely, and they had to move down into the lunar module. Now, that presented a whole new set of problems because the lunar module was only built for 2 people, and you had to have 3 people down there. So they had problems with the CO2 scrubbers. And then the big issue with the CO2 scrubbers? Well, the ones on the command module are round, and the ones in the lunar module are square.
Right. So, and probably my favorite scene in the movie, they're having to figure out how to jury rig the square peg to fit in the round hole, literally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another guy I want to mention real quick, not one of the astronauts, but actually one of the mission control guys. His name was I want to say John O'Neill, I believe. In the movie, he's the guy who works with Ken Mattingly in the simulator to try to figure out the power situation. Give them just enough power to, get the command module up so that they can re-enter Earth's atmosphere. He was kind of like one of these. He was a real big guy in the mission control. He was kind of actually a bit of a legend on Apollo 12 during launch. They were having some sort of malfunction and they couldn't figure out what was going on. And John figured out and actually knew a workaround for it. And it was to flip the switch. You have to go SEC to aux. And he told that to Charles Kraft, who was one of the flight directors. And Kraft's like, "What? I have no idea what you're talking about." So they're like, "No, trust me, it'll work." And so then they tell the guys on Apollo 12 to do it, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" But Pete Conrad, the mission commander, knew what it was, and he flipped it, and it worked. So was kind of yeah, but that story kind of became legend at NASA Mission Control, and I know about that because about 20 years ago, the History Channel did a really great documentary about those mission control guys. It was called "Failure is Not an Option," which is a line from this movie. So I'm dumping a lot of NASA trivia on all of you.
No worries. I mean, so I was never. I am weird in that I find like space itself more interesting than the people who go up there and learn about space, even though like clearly like if you're an astronaut, you're amazing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just definitionally, even if you never go into space, you're the best of the best of the best.
Oh yeah, yeah. Peak human specimen.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would say like in terms of the actual like emotional core of the movie, I liked the disdain that Tom Hanks's wife had for the media.
Yeah.
Because like they didn't like it was almost like the Jurassic World situation where something amazing, space flight, had become so routine that their ratings were way down. They weren't even showing the launch on TV.
Yeah.
And so she's like, they wouldn't watch his launch on TV, but they're here for the interview now. No, get them off my lawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, like I would say that yeah, Hanks's character, like his disappointment about never getting to set foot on the moon when it was his turn, is like a core emotional weight of the movie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But the problem solving scenes are a lot of fun. It wouldn't surprise me if I talked with Andy Weir, and that's what a lot of The Martian and Project Hail Mary was inspired by.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, yeah, yeah.
And the nice thing is that unlike like my big complaint about The Martian was that I didn't care about the politics back on Earth. They were necessary just to see like so you had context of what was going on. But at the same time, it's like I don't care. Get back to Mars. I want to see him growing potatoes with his own dung or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that problem solving was the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
Well, in this one, since everybody was on the same team,
yeah,
and like like the arguments were not about should we even bother sending a ship. Well, of course, in this case, they couldn't send a ship. You know, like the argument wasn't should we help him or not. It was how are we going to do this? And like how are we going to get that? Like we need 4 amps, we have 2 or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How are we gonna? You know, they're like, we're you know, okay. Well, we got to get them back on course. Well, how are we going to do that? We can't use the computer, and we're using the engine for a spacecraft that wasn't designed. It wasn't designed to do what they were going to use it for.
Right. Like they were using the engine that was designed to land on the moon and then get off of the moon again, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not designed for sustained burns to propel you through space.
Right. Yeah.
I'll also say that, especially for what 95.
Yeah.
The special effects in this are amazing. The zero G effects are extremely convincing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, they took them up on the Vomit Comet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they were actually having like moments of weightlessness to simulate it.
Yeah.
I was wondering what kind of movie magic they were using.
Yeah.
Also, I liked some of the details, like when the ship exploded. And first I thought this was kind of strange that they were like orbited by a cloud of debris. And then I realized, well, it's space, and unless as fast as they're moving, they're not like where are they going to fall to? They're not going to go back to Earth. They're not going to crash into the moon if they're not crashing into the moon,
right?
Because they're all just moving along on the same momentum.
Yeah.
So and just like the shots are well done. Who directed this one again?
Ron Howard.
You know, I've said not nice things about Ron Howard before, but I think I need to rescind them at least for this movie.
No, this is his best movie in my opinion.
Yeah. Like a lot of the times his movies can seem a bit pedestrian, but this one is definitely not.
No, it's not. No. Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yep. So like I'm not as big of a NASA buff as Daniel is, but the fact that I'm not kind of just demonstrates that this movie has a lot for you, even if you don't know the behind the scenes details.
Yeah. And
Also, I'm sorry, Mr. Bacon. I know that you're connected with everybody, so you can't possibly be evil, but you
well,
just always come off that way. Like it actually kind of ruined. Okay, no, to be fair, R.I.P.D.'s script and casting ruined R.I.P.D.
yeah, yeah, it
But the
did.
fact that
Yeah.
it was Kevin Bacon and the way he was acting made it very clear very early on that he was going to be the bad guy.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, he did play. He was X-Men First Class. Shaw on
Oh,
the
you're right. Yeah, like
yeah,
dude just has a villain face. I'm sorry.
yeah, he does. Yeah. Yeah, but he's not a villain in this movie. Um,
Maybe in the sequel, Apollo 14, he'll turn to the dark side.
oh yeah, maybe. But yeah, but this movie, yeah, this, like I said, this movie is one of my favorites. Can't recommend it enough. Currently on Netflix.
Yep. And yeah, it was fun to revisit after not seeing it for 20 plus years.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think we've said all we need to say for tonight.
Indeed, we have.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate it as always. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Ring the bell. Buy some books. All that good stuff. And
All that good stuff.
we'll see you next week. Night, everybody.
Good night.